Hello and welcome back to the series on freedom, internal freedom, independence, autonomy in your mind, putting up the flag of being the ruler of your thoughts and emotions. And today we are joined by Sharona Stillerman, based in Israel and currently in Bharat, in Madhuban. So, very warm welcome, Sharona. We are very pleased that we can discuss such an important aspect of our inner life, emotions, and how these emotions are changing into anger and attachment, and they reduce the quality of our inner life. I will start with one question about boundaries. And the person who shared this concern, they were able to observe that in the past, they had relationships where they were not able to create boundaries. And they felt a little bit invaded. They felt that others were manifesting negative emotions, and themselves, they had to take a long time to learn how to create boundaries. So, our first question would be, how do you create boundaries in maybe close relationships or not so close? Thank you.
First of all, hello, Joanna, and again, it's a pleasure to be with you and explore these topics because they're so practical. And even though the situations and the scenes can sometimes seem so complicated and we can feel so stuck, actually, the solution, the way forward is always very singular, actually. And it just has to do with reconstituting, or use a different word, an easier word, cultivating again and restoring our spiritual self-respect. You know, when we don't have our spiritual self-respect, what's happening is that we're going to be using other people and position and possessions to define my value, define my worth. And an extension of that is we even go out of our way to make people like us because in their liking us, in their accepting us, we feel validated. We feel like our lives are worthwhile. This is not a healthy state of being, that my sense of my value, my sense of myself is in something external. People, as I was saying, position, possessions. It's like I'm giving the remote control of my life over to someone else or something else. And there is this study, this spiritual study, Brahma Kumari's Raja Yoga, which is actually saying that there is an alternative foundation. Spiritual self-respect means I'm going to discover and I'm going to experience a self-worth, a self-validation that comes entirely from understanding myself as a spiritual entity. Means self-respect out there in the world is often as not based on who does like me and what are the responsibilities I'm given at work. What is the caliber of cell phone or phone that I or a car that I have. That's not a spiritual self-respect. Spiritual self-respect means as I begin to consider myself a soul, independent of the body and whatever are the games and the acts and the activities being done through this body, what happens is I start experiencing treasure inside me. I start experiencing peace as an energy inside me. I don't even have to go to a park for it or the ocean side. I start discovering and experiencing happiness. It's an energy. All these qualities are energies, and I am made of them. So as my spiritual studies increase, I connect to that part of myself. And so I begin to really value myself as a child of the divine. So that's a kind of long-term answer to your question. It takes time, long-term in the sense that I begin to cultivate a different relationship with myself. Instead of just not knowing who I am, and instead of assuming that I am however best I can wear my hair or put on makeup or get dressed or hold this or that position. I slowly begin to replace all of that with a solid self-love. Self-respect means self-love and a kind of self-confidence. So that's long-term because that builds, and gradually will replace my lack of confidence about setting borders and boundaries. Because as my spiritual self-respect increases, I very naturally see what's right and what's wrong. People are overstepping the boundaries again and again, but I'm not affected. I see what's right and what's wrong that other people are doing, but I'm not affected. And I am able to hold my ground. So I can peacefully, now this is a short-term practice. Next time you feel somebody is overstepping the boundaries, maybe because you've not established the boundaries and they're used to taking advantage of you or treating you poorly. SOS, step back and observe what's going on. S, step back. O, observe what's going on. And S, switch your consciousness. I am a peaceful soul. I'm a good person. Happy is an energy inside me, and so is power, not force, but power. See if you can come into that experience that you are studying and experimenting with. And very naturally, that'll enable you to have a kind of attitude towards the person, which is a little bit more respectful and peaceful. And you will say what you have to say. For example, maybe we can talk about this later. Or how about if I get back to you on this, if there's a conversation going on. Literally, I remember Dottie Jenke, one of the founding members of our institution. She used to say, it is true that it's not nice when people throw their garbage at you. I'm speaking about verbal abuse of your boundaries. There's also physical, which might be another story, but verbal. It's not nice that people are throwing their garbage at you. But then she followed up by saying, on the other hand, what is it about your own attitude, your own responses, which make them think you're a garbage pail? See? So we are in the process of restoring our dignity. And in that process, we are restoring the whole concept of dignity, royalty. We don't need to interact with and through reaction all the time. Response is more reflective of our higher self. We can do better, and that's what the SOS is about. Always inviting us just to step back. Now, if it's physical boundaries that are being overstepped, there too, it's a process of cultivating your own self-respect. As much as you work with these spiritual concepts, your conscience is going to be developing. And as I
Thank you, Sharona. It's very clear what you are saying, and at the same time, we understand it does take a lot of attention and study and being able to see what is important for you right now. It is not always possible to observe the reactions of others and to understand that they have nothing to do with me. In a sense, they are now going through a period of time when they themselves have to regain their dignity. And the easiest way to help someone stay in their highest self-respect is when I do that. When I learn to be in the consciousness of the true self, the eternal being of light, which is independent, which has spiritual autonomy, and I'm not subservient to anyone. I'm not dependent. Even on the body, you are not dependent. You are eternal, immortal, and divine, and you are a being of light. Then why would you have such a subservience to anyone? If others do not have manners, that doesn't have to trouble you or to shake your sense of dignity. So in this journey, the journey of becoming firm in your self-respect, in your higher dignity, there are possibly stages. And in these stages, you first create boundaries. Then you may feel like you want others to interact with you, to give you feedback. You become more open. And eventually, the one who has a higher self-respect would say listen and interact only with the Supreme Soul in the sense of listening to the highest guidance and not that much listening to the directions of others. So the question here would be, how do you bring the guidance, the wisdom of the Supreme Soul in this process of regaining your respect? How can you make it so firm, your respect, that nothing can shake it?
That's a big one. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Sorry, I got disconnected, and that's probably going to keep happening, but we'll keep trying for it. First of all, we have to be clear on the concept that I am not alone in this desire or this intention and aim to, there we go. I'm not alone in this intention to be a better person, because to create boundaries and to maintain them with peace and dignity is an aspect of becoming my best self. And it's very, very beautiful to understand that even this need and this question, shouldn't I be setting boundaries here? Isn't there like a limit to tolerance? This it's this popularity of this concept, because it's been increasing over the last few decades, and I would say also the last few years. It's not just me thinking this. It's almost like you could say the call of time, because as conditions in the world are getting worse, we can almost imagine on some level or another, it's quite reflective of conditions inside so many of us. There's so much disharmony there inside us. There's so much conflict inside us between what I always thought was right, but then how everybody else is acting, and how eventually I start seeing my own self act, seeing myself come down from my values and my principles and not able to stop it. So much confusion, so much discouragement about the concept of goodness, disheartenment inside our own selves. And ultimately confusion about what is right, what is wrong, and then giving myself liberty to experiment and end up doing all sorts of things, which, if I step back, I know are not productive. They're not conducive to a principled living style. All of this going on inside is very related to the kind of world we have. Increasing violence, increasing confusion, increasing inability to know what is life-supporting versus life-destroying, and increasing ability to act from what is life-supporting, what is right. So the whole world, including so many of us and our inner world, is at a kind of like brink, a kind of like edge. Things are getting really, really bad. So how amazing to think that it's actually according to a larger plan, that we individuals are calling out and saying, this is too much. Maybe we're not saying it on looking at the global scene, but we're saying it on looking at our own individual scenarios. And again, they're connected. So to understand that there's a much larger plan going on, of which I'm a part, that reality could be, as the great philosopher Shakespeare was saying, all the world is a stage and we are but actors on it. To consider that there is a script, there is a right way, and how these times are as if all the actors have really forgotten the script. They're ad-libbing, and they've forgotten their lines. They've forgotten their moves. So they're just bumping into each other, bringing down the lighting. Everything's dark and nobody knows what's going on. And they're basically just crashing into each other and hurting each other. Because with that image, we understand that there is also a director. And as an actor, I am the soul. It is I, the soul, who's the actor. This body is the costume. It allows me to act, to perform. But third ingredient, there is a director, the Supreme Soul. So I have to continue cultivating this awareness, this attunement to a much larger picture, to this spiritual reality, because as much as I can just like renew this awareness, stretch my awareness to this idea that I'm not the act. I'm totally separate from the act and the thoughts are my choice. Or actually, if I'm really serious about being a good actor, if I'm really serious about putting out a good performance, I'm going to remember that I am completely separate from these acts, no matter how much I've programmed and conditioned myself to a certain way of behaving. I am separate from my programmings and conditionings. I'm separate from my thoughts. We even say they are my thoughts, my programmings and conditionings. Whose are they? They are I, the soul. Stretching that reality, I am separate. And as soon as I come into that reality, I remember I have a choice. And I might, in my choice, say, I'm going to stay peaceful. And that's very good, but not to force that peace, but to work with the power of that peace means I stretch myself one more time. I'm not just the soul, separate from old patterns and separate from what's going on in the drama of life with everybody ad-libbing and nobody going by the script. But I am able to see the director. I am able to remember the director. And just like, take that power, take that power. I, the soul, point of light, supreme soul above, feel the power of that one's peace coming to me. And then I guarantee you are not only making a choice, but your new choice, I'm going to respond peacefully, will carry power in it. And it's the power of creating a new programming, a new conditioning. And after a short time, 2-3 times of deliberate, conscious effort making, you've got some new personality traits coming.
Yes. Yes, very clear, Sharona. And the word choice is a word that empowers us. And giving you an example, at a recent presentation where there was a discussion about the Supreme Soul, someone came after that and they said, can your Supreme Soul help my niece? Because she is having some behavioral issues. Can he help her? And that somehow underlined that people very new to spiritual knowledge can quickly understand the role of the Supreme Soul. However, how can we understand that we have to change? We cannot ask the Supreme Soul to change someone else. And here will come the other questions that were asked by our participants, and they were mainly having to do with not being able to control their reactions. So experiencing anger and not being able to stop it, experiencing sadness and not being able to stop the crying, hearing something unpleasant and not being able to deal with it. So what is your choice in that moment, and how can I get back that? What is a choice? Getting back the power, not hoping that someone else will change. This is what I wanted to say. In that moment, I cannot hope that you will change. You're not going to treat me like that. I have to change.
Yeah. And especially for women, that's one of the big changes. My spiritual self-respect. I stopped being a garbage bin. People don't assume that that's the place to throw their stuff. So it so much depends on my own attention to my own inner world. Practically speaking, you have a specialty. Everyone has a specialty. By specialty, what I mean is it's some quality or some virtue which comes very easily to you. Like for me, it's faith, actually. I've always had it, and I've always wondered why other people don't have it. That's also a sign that that's your specialty. You look around you, nobody else seems to work with faith, for example, and you wonder why. And maybe it took you half your lifetime to understand that that's a specialty of yours, and it's not by everyone. What would you say is your specialty, Joanna?
I'm good at listening to
Listening. Okay.
higher
All right.
directions.
Okay. Listening in general is a specialty. So in answer to these questions, which basically have to do with not being able to make right choices, I end up a slave to my old programmings. Find out what your specialty is and start using it. If you know your specialty is listening, then next time somebody crosses your boundaries, gets angry at you, or all of these things you just mentioned, just it's simple. Remember your specialty. It's not going to change. This is a specialty you were kind of born with, and it's been around all along. It's easy. You never worked on it. Use that. Use that, because that is already surfaced and active. It's something you're aware of. And then according to what's going on, it actually will lead you through the doorway to that larger picture, the larger reality. It's the soul who has that listening capacity or that faith. And then you're back in the world of the soul. In other words, you've begun the SOS. You've separated yourself, you're observing, and you can make a switch. Your specialty will open the door to other virtues and qualities which you can be experimenting with. And of course, you'll experiment with them because you'll be exposed to them. Your spiritual study should give you the list of 36 virtues and their definitions. But I can tell you, this said, which is practical, we can also take a look at that video, because I think it does come down again and again to this one particular thing. And sometimes visuals kind of underline the point. What do you think? Do we have time for the video?
I think we have 5 more minutes, so
It's enough. But don't forget to pause it at the right point.
yes.
From the beginning. Do we have sound?
Okay, we'll try to have sound in the
Probably have to go back and just
next
click on
one.
sound. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, going back all the way to the Facebook, but we can also do it without sound. It's all right. And now you're stopping it. Yeah. And maybe one more second or two. Now we stop it. Yeah. Okay. So there are two things wrong with this video or this situation or this story. Two things are wrong. Any ideas?
As I look at him right now, he's looking at the fact that another car is parked in front of him. I don't know how he's going to get his car out after he works so hard. And the other thing, he worked really hard when I wonder if there was any other smarter method.
Yes, exactly. So, on Facebook, the very next screen is actually an advertisement for a kind of like hot air blower, which is run on battery. And they were saying that this is the hack, just get one of these, aim it at the handles, aim it at the windshield wipers, aim it at the windows. It'll just melt. It'll just melt. So one thing wrong in this story is this fellow's using the wrong method, right? But there is one other thing. If we can see it from the beginning again and now let it go all the way to the end.
It's the other car.
Yeah. Okay, so two things wrong with that video. One is he was using a wrong method, but what was the other wrong thing?
Wrong car.
Yeah, he was working on the wrong car.
Well, or he's a great donor. He's cleaning the car of someone else. You cannot say the wrong one. It's the right one for that other person.
For that other person, but for him, it's definitely the wrong one. Now, spiritual implications of this. What is the right method? And what's the right car to be working on?
Yeah, I agree. The right car is my car. This personality, this mind, this character. And I cannot expect results if I work on someone else's car.
And what's the right method?
The right method is to understand that you are a soul, eternal and divine, and to connect to the Supreme Soul to regain your powers.
Yeah, this is definitely very beautifully said. And I would just put it out here that the right method, first of all, this hot air blower would be to work with your specialty, because the car we need to work on is my divine form, the point of light, and not the body form, which somehow keeps me in a very low level consciousness, keeps me focused on the anger of others, my own anger, the crossing borders of others, my own fear, my own insecurity, my own shyness, or my own
Sadness.
resistance.
Mm.
Yeah, this is not the right method. First of all, it's not the right car to be working on. That's trying to work on the act. We have to work on cultivating this other car, the form of myself as a soul. And the method is keep working with virtue, keep working with qualities, starting with my own specialty. That will blow these things off. It'll melt them if I work this consistently enough over enough of a period of time. It's just another way of saying what you were saying, but now we also have a visual.
Thank
I
you.
don't have to clear away the negativities as much as I have to activate, awaken, nurture my qualities, my truth.
Thank you. Very clear. Thank you, Sharona. And entertaining as well. Why not? We will remember when things are presented in such a way. Let's finish with 1 minute of silence and thank you again.
Thank you, Joanna. It's a beautiful series.